Shiro here for Umbra Games with a review of Weird West, developed by Wolfeye Studios and published by Devolver Digital. The game is available digitally on PS4, Xbox One, and Windows, with the PS5 physical coming via Special Reserve Games. I played the game on an Xbox Series X with Game Pass for the review. Weird West is an overhead twin-stick shooter adventure, where you fill the boots, or hooves, or claws I guess, of 5 different characters on their quest to figure out the magic of the Wanderer. Each character has his or her own story arc through the adventure while slowly uncovering details of the bigger picture. Weird West very much draws inspiration from stories of the Wild West, but also features a variety of supernatural beings, zombies, werewolves, witches, and pigmen, giving it the titular weird. You select locations from a world map and time will pass while you make the journey, sometimes interrupting you with a handful of event types or encounters. Area maps often have multiple layers, underground hideaways, or dungeons attached, and you can only leave by reaching the outer edge of the map you came in on, or by stealing or riding your horse, which will instantly take you out. You can purchase your own horse, which with your character's limited inventory can also be used as a second on-the-go bank, and also cuts travel time between destinations significantly. You move with the left stick and can spin the camera and have limited altitude control of it with the right stick. Combat takes place with 4 different projectiles, pistols, rifles, shotguns, and a bow and arrow, as well as a melee weapon and kick. There are some throwing items as well, including things like dynamite and electric explosives. Hold the left trigger to pull your weapon, and at that point, right stick serves as your aiming mechanism. If you're behind cover, holding left trigger won't pull you out of it, and you can see where you're going to aim. When you pull the right trigger, that's when you'll pop out of cover and fire. Enemies will do the same, creating some pretty western-like shootouts. You also have a dodge roll by hitting the B button, and if you roll while aiming, you'll trigger slow motion for a few seconds, allowing you to continue to aim and take several nearly free shots on your foes. Stealth can also play a big part of your combat repertoire. Enemies will appear on the minimap in the upper right as red dots, and they'll have vision cones for the direction they're looking. The game does lean more towards the player side with this, meaning sometimes you can sort of even come from the front side angle and still pull off a stealth knockout, which is actually pretty nice. You can sneak by pressing the left stick, which reduces your sound noticeably, and you can also find tall grass and bushes to hide in. Each character has their own unique set of unlockable abilities, in addition to unlockable firearm skills, ones that are often repeated for each. They do have to be unlocked on each character individually. These skills are activated by holding the right bumper and hitting a face button and will consume ability points to use. You can find companions in towns that are willing to go with you, sometimes for a price, and you can also recruit main characters from past chapters to be in your posse of up to 3 total. They will follow you, shoot mostly only when you do, and they turn invisible when you're sneaking so as not to get caught. There's not really a way to pull back your AI companions if you wanted to start a fight, take cover backaways, and force a bottleneck. They'll unfortunately be up in the thick of things, and of course there is friendly fire, so you have to check your shots while they're up front or you can kill them. At all points in a chapter, you'll have a yellow main objective. It's pretty much always clear where that goal will be, marked by a yellow diamond on the world map, and often features yellow arrows on area maps with diamonds over objectives. These objectives range from eliminating targets, to solving puzzles, to retrieving items, or just having conversations with NPCs. In addition to main objectives, you'll find side quests from various townfolk noted by blue items on the map. There's also a bounty board tasking you to go to an area and kill or capture a target and bring them back to town, denoted by orange icons. I'm seeing this game get talked about like it's an action RPG, but actually I would kinda challenge that in definition. Sure, there's some stats on gear, the 3 or so options of vests with varying rarities and the multi-tiered rarities of guns too. There's a quest journal, so it definitely has some of the RPG trappings, but there isn't really a character level. There's no experience gains. Both kinds of character progression come in the form of collectibles, one set as perks among all 5 characters by collecting golden playing cards, and the other dispensable to open special abilities I mentioned a minute ago, unique to each character. And really, I only try and make the specification of the genre because I did feel a bit of a lack of progression. After playing the first of 5 characters, going to the next, and being pretty similarly unimpressed with the second character's unlockable abilities, I sort of quit spending the collectibles on them. I bought 1 or 2 of the unique character ones sometimes, but the hunt for those items to unlock didn't feel particularly motivating to my exploration instinct, and thus I didn't feel bad skipping optional content because it wasn't really getting me anything. When you start the next character as mentioned, you can go and recruit previous ones as companions, and thus get access to the leveled guns and vests you might have gotten, and they only need 1 gun at a time, so you can take it from them easily and not have a reduction in firepower. So aside from having to buy a new horse for most characters, for some reason, once you build your base character with the starting bounty hunter, you're kinda set. The horse's saddlebags and your bank box are accessible to each character, and they're the same regardless of the horse you own or the town's bank you visit. One other selling point of Weird West is that it's an immersive sim. If you're not familiar with the concept, it's a game genre that really tries to leave the player with a handful of actions and environmental variables in which to solve problems via those interactive systems. You can spill or burst an oil drum and throw flame on it and cause a fire. You can find ways onto rooftops and lower yourself through skylights and chimneys instead of wasting lockpicks. You can kill anyone you want, even important story people, and the game will continue. You can distract enemies by throwing items, you can hide and throw bodies, and the list goes on. With that freedom that Weird West brings also comes freedom for AI to do some weird things. Playing through this game actually kind of reminded me sometimes of early Elder Scrolls days. Weird West has people walking through the middle of your cutscene. One time I turned in a bounty and somehow the target flagged red when he got put in jail. My companion started firing on him and got the whole town coming after us. One town at the bank, the tellers weren't standing close enough to the windows for me to ever initiate a conversation. With the save system being so fast and a numerous amount of slots, as well as the ability to just hit the quick save button, make sure you do so often. There definitely is repeating consequences, even from character to character, but this also works in reverse frustration. I was super careful in stealing from and not killing what I thought was a main story character, pulling off an elaborate multi-quick save heist to invade his place and not take his life, just his key item he was holding, only to have him show up without fanfare within the hour as a trash mob. But c'est la vie. I do have to say there was something missing in the gameplay loop to keep the game's hooks in me for its duration. I really enjoyed the first few hours of the game, but that enjoyment with that gameplay loop steadily declined. I really think it was just mainly the lack of progression for me. Once you're equipped well enough, the first encounter plays very nearly like the last. The one thing I was definitely doing is grabbing up all the pieces of loot I can find. There's trash, consumables, and weapons and vests that drop from pretty much anything. You can sell weapons and vests and throwables at the tannery and weapon shop, trash to the general store, ore and metal bars to the bank, and a couple rare items to the doctors. Trash goes away when sold, but weapons and gear stay in the merchant's inventory. They only have so many slots. So while you can scrap firearms for the bullets instead of selling grays back for $2 each, melee weapons can't be scrapped, and I'd hoard and sell them, but yeah, turns out each merchant has a cap. So even looting for cash to buy upper tier weapon kinda lost its shine. You can use ore to upgrade a weapon to its next rarity, but the upper level ones drop from enemies more often than not. So I never did this once during my adventure. By the third character, I had a set of blue and a couple purple weapons I could swap between characters, so the game's rewards for my efforts kind of became meaningless. I did really enjoy the art style of the game. Some of the world design was really great, from the ghost towns, sometimes literally, to ancient temples, caves, and abandoned mines. The music was weird and Westy as you'd expect, and set the tone well. The story did keep me hooked too. The main characters as well as the supporting NPCs presented very entertaining situations, especially with leaving the freedom of decisions truly in your hands. Overall, Weird West had a fun combat system that just doesn't evolve much as you progress through the game, a great art style and engaging story and characters, lots of locations, a good degree of freedom both in combat and decision making, some AI that goes wonky in a few places due to that freedom, an overall feeling of lack of character progression, but overall definitely a weird and unique experience. Rated as a 2D open world mission procedural, Weird West hits a 74 out of 100 on my 0 to 100 scale, where 50 is an average game. This is Jiro for Umbra Games. Thanks for watching.